Okay, this video is the problem of explainable models, part of the series on algorithmic accountability. So we examine each problem with our 6-question framework, although I'm going to combine numbers 3 and 4 and just talk about what's new here rather than talking about scale and capabilities separately. Okay, so what is the problem? What we all agree on, is that we don't want models that we can't evaluate or manage. That is to say, they're unaccountable. Okay, and I tried to design these videos so that you can watch any one separately without order. Although the video on the problem of the black box is a more thorough discussion of the similarities and differences between comprehension and explanation. Okay, so accountability, we want accountability, and we can't get it through comprehension. And the reason is because the models are so complex. But we might be able to get this through explanation. Okay, here's the good news. The good news is that, unlike comprehension, comprehension is just really one thing. It's the way I'm using the word. It's our ability to process, to trace over the model in our minds. Okay, so there's just really one thing. But explanations, there's lots of things that count as valid explanations. Okay, so before we invest in technical fixes, like trying to bring solutions to bear, we have to think about which kind of those explanations are worth wanting. Now, here is the bad news, although maybe you can just call it challenging news, not strictly bad. There are many things that count as good explanations. Okay, there are many things that are valid. Many explanations are valid, true, etc. So that's why we need to re-ask this question: what kinds of which explanations? We can't take all of them. Which explanations are the ones that we want specifically? Okay, so what's familiar here? So anytime we ask why, there are many valid answers, but only a limited number are going to be relevant given the context, given the reason we asked the question in the first place. So, for example, let's say I fell down the stairs. Why did you fall down the stairs? I fell down the stairs because, and then I'm gonna give an explanation for why. So there might be any number of explanations I give that are true. And they're compatible too. There might be 30 true explanations, but again, a limited number are going to be relevant, the kinds of explanations that I am needing. So let's break this down a little bit more. If you say, okay, why did you fall down the stairs? I fell down the stairs because, you could say, here are some ways, legit ways to finish the sentence. I missed a step. My center of gravity shifted due to foot placement. I was rushing to answer the doorbell. I was distracted and I didn't notice the step. The stair was not wide enough to support my foot placement. The rubber of my shoe didn't grip the wooden surface of the stair, etc., etc., etc. So one thing to note about this list is they are compatible. So it's certainly true, I think, that all of these explanations can be true explanations of the same situation, of the same case, the same incident. Okay, but only a limited number are going to be useful to you. Okay, so let's think about how this works in the context of machine learning models. So the explanation, I missed a step because I missed a step, might be translated as something like, the loan was denied because the applicant had a low credit score. When I say, I missed a step because my center of gravity shifted due to foot placement, that could be equivalent to an explanation like, well, the model output 0.32 after computing a weighted sum and applying a sigmoid function. That could be a true explanation, right? I fell down the stairs because I was rushing to answer the doorbell. That could be equivalent to something like, the system was optimized to minimize default risk, so it penalizes late payments heavily. Okay, so these are all legit explanations to, in this case, it would be something like, why did the algorithm decide that you don't get the loan? And any number of these, plus a bunch more, might be legit answers to the question. So the ethical values here, I'm going to go over in the next section because there's quite a few ethical values at stake here. So let's begin our journey to potential solutions. We're going to eventually talk about the values because the problem is that we have that plurality of valid explanations, but only some are relevant. Okay, so how do we determine which ones are relevant? Well, we have to figure out what kind of explanations are worth wanting, and what's going to guide us in getting the answer to that question are to figure out why we want those explanations in the first place. So we could call those reasons for accountability. Why do we want accountability in this particular case? Most or all of the time, those reasons are going to be some legal or ethical values. Okay. Let me give you a list of 4, and there's another one that I have a separate video about. So one value is happiness. Okay, so if we have models that no one understands, they cannot do anything about it if the model starts producing obviously harmful outcomes. This is a governance concern, and so in this case, we want an explanation because we want to be able to manage the model. Okay, so if you say, okay, I want to be able to manage the model, that tells you which subset of explanations are relevant, and then, and only then, can you start determining technical fixes. Or maybe the reason for accountability is autonomy. Okay, we can say if we have models no one understands, we can't object when we are misclassified or classified unfairly. That is to say, we might want an explanation because we want to be able to fight back. I've created a separate video about this, the problem of misclassification. Go into some more depth on that one. Why do we want accountability in the first place? Well, it could be legal, right? We want to be able to know who to hold legally accountable to sue. We want it to sue. And trust. If we have models no one understands, how are we going to confidently depend on the model to do what's supposed to do? So we want to be able to use it with confidence. So what I'm saying is these are all separate reasons for accountability, and you have to ask yourself, okay, why do we want accountability in this situation? Once you figure that out, right, so you identify the reasons for accountability, that is going to guide figuring out which subset of explanations is relevant to the question you're asking. Okay, and once you find which explanations are relevant, that is going to guide the technical fixes. Okay, so it's sort of a pattern that you identify the reasons, that helps you identify the relevant explanations, and that helps you identify the technical fixes. So it's definitely not going to be useful to say, oh, we want to hold this model accountable. Let's bring technical fixes to bear on the problem. That's probably, unless you're really lucky, not going to get you the answers you want, because you first have to think about why you want accountability and what kind of explanation is going to be useful given your reason. So this is a bit about the problem of explainable models.